Hi everybody, it's Kelly here from Craft and a Cuppa, and today I'm going to show you how to make the whimsical Wendy sweater, which is a nice fitted little cropped granny square sweater with some little pretty picots on the neckline and the sleeves, and a nice little fancy little hem. I don't really know what to call it, to be honest with you, but yeah. So it is in US terms and it's made to measure. There are 9 sizes, which are extra small to 5XL. I have included the measurements that you'll be working towards, which are in the written description of the video. So if you're using a phone, what you need to do is look at the title of the video, which is the Whimsical Wendy sweater, and to the right of that there will be an upside down V. Click on that and that will bring you up all the details and the measurements that you need to know on how to make this sweater. So with it being made to measure, you can use any yarn, any hook, literally raid your stash, grab whatever you want and crack on with it, which is quite good, isn't it? So what else I need to tell you? So yeah, it has got negative ease to make it a bit more fitted. If you feel like negative ease isn't really for you and you want it to be a bit more baggy, just go up 1 size. That's all. So simple. So I've got my yarn. I've gone for some DK yarn. I've got some Derrimals here. Lovely, lovely, lovely yarn. And I've got a 5mm hook. It's just possibly my favourite hook to use whenever I'm using DK yarn. Don't know why, but it is. Tape measure for measuring the garment as we go along. A pair of scissors. Some stitch markers. And a tapestry needle for weaving in all those horrific ends. Okay, let's crack on. Right, so what we're going to be doing is making 2 granny squares, one for the front panel and one for the back panel. Now if you already know how to make a granny square, then you can go ahead and start making yours and fast forward if you can. Try and find how to do it. Fast forward through the video where I have completed both the squares. Just a little bit of information if you know how to make your grannies and you want to just crack on. There will be no chains in between each granny cluster, and you need to turn your work after every round. I suppose it's not a massive necessity, but I always turn my work after every round and it helps to keep the granny square nice and straight. So if you're going to go ahead and make your granny square without me, what you need to do is click on the written description of the video. Remember, it's an upside down V if you are on a phone, and you need to find the measurement for the finished width of a granny square, and you need to find it for the size that you're working towards. And all you need to do is just measure across the center of your square the width of it, and keep working until you get to roughly that measurement. But I am going to go ahead and show you how to make a granny square, how we're going to do it. So if you want to continue watching, then join me in making this square. Sorry, I'm talking while doing things. I should be doing that. So what we're going to do first is create a slip knot with the yarn and place it over our hook. Next, we're going to chain 4. And then we're going to come back to this very first chain and we're going to put a slip stitch through that chain to create a loop. Now it's always a little bit fiddly here, you have to have a little route around, but we need to find the centre, which is right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3 and then work 2 double crochets into that centre loop. And that is classed as your first granny cluster. So now we're going to chain 2, and this time we're going to put 3 double crochets into the loop. And then chain 2, and then again 3 double crochets into the loop. Oh, my yarn's stuck. Chain 2, and what we need is 4 sets of granny clusters, which is basically 4 sets of 3 double crochets. I've got 3 at the minute, so what I need to do is put 3 more double crochets back into my loop. And then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to join it to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round with a slip stitch. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my centre yarn, because I've got a bit of a circle going on in the middle. I'm going to pull it nice and tight. So what we've got going on is our first square. If I just wiggle my corners out a bit, you can see that we've got 4 sets of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you feel like you want to change your colour, what you're going to do is you're going to fasten off, and then you're going to turn your work so your stitches are the wrong way, facing you. And that's going to help prevent you getting a wonky square. What you're going to do is you're going to join it in any corner. I always go into a different corner from where I fastened off, because that also helps as well. So join it in any one of these corners with a slip stitch. I'm going to stay with the same colour for this round. So if you're going to stick with the same colour, what you're going to do is turn your work and then place a slip stitch back into this corner chain space. And then we're ready to go for round 2. So what we're going to do is chain 3, which is classed as your first double crochet, then put 2 double crochets back into that same corner chain space. Next, what we're going to do is skip over these 3 double crochets and go in the next corner with 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets back into that corner chain space. Same thing, skip over the next 3 double crochets and then put 3 double crochets in the corner chain space, chain 2, 3 double crochets back in that same corner chain space. We're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. Skip the next 3 doubles and go straight into the next corner with 3 double crochets. My yarn is playing me up today. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then 3 more doubles back in that corner chain space. Where are we? Now we're on the final part, so we're going to skip 3 doubles and go into the final corner chain space, which has already got your 3 doubles, although it's a chain 2 and 2 double crochets, but technically it's classed as 3 doubles. So you're going to go back into your final corner with 3 double crochets. I couldn't figure out what I was saying then, sorry. 3 double crochets and a chain 2, and then you're going to join your yarn up to the first stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the top of the chain 3 that we created right at the beginning and place a slip stitch. And that is round 2. Now I'm changing colour, so I'm going to fasten off. If you're sticking with the same colour, remember all you're going to do is turn your work and slip stitch straight back into that chain space, and you're ready for round 3. But I am changing colour, so I'm just going to undo that little slip stitch that I've just put in there, and I'm going to fasten off. Now what I like to do is, because I'm changing colour, I like to make both my squares at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and make up exactly the same thing as what I've just done in exactly the same colour. And I find it can help keep the tension and the same, so your squares come out the same size. It's also brilliant if you're using scrap yarn, because you can look at your yarn and think, yeah, I think I've got enough to play some lovely games of yarn chicken to try and get round 2 squares. Do it all the time, but usually it works, and then you use up all your little odds and ends then, can't you? So I'm going to pause the video and start making up my second square. You don't have to do it this way. If you prefer to make one square and then complete that one square and do your next one, it's absolutely fine. It does not matter how we do it, as long as we all get the same result at the end and we have fun. So I'm going to pause the video, make another one of these, and I'll see you back here for round 3. So I've got my 2 squares on the go. So what we're going to do now is add in round 3. I'm going to put 1 square to one side. Now I'm changing my colour. So I'm going to turn my work so my last round of stitches are wrong side facing me. And I'm going to go in any random corner. So I'm going to take my new colour and put another slip knot on that and join it to my hook. I say join it to my hook, attach it to my hook. And then I'm going to go in a random corner. Make sure you don't go in the centre gap. Make sure it's in the corner. I'm going to join it in with a slip stitch. And then chain 3 and put 2 double crochets back into that corner chain space. It's a pretty colour, this is. Very nice. Right, so what we're going to do now is skip the next 3 double crochets and we're going to go in the centre gap with 3 double crochets. Oh, come on, yarn, hang on a second. Where are we? Right, skip the next 3 double crochets and go in the corner chain space with 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back in the same corner. And then do the same thing again. Skip the next 3 double crochets and go into this centre gap with 3 double crochets. Skip the next 3 doubles and go into the corner with 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 more double crochets back into the centre corner. And then go again. Skip the next 3 doubles and go into the centre gap with 3 double crochets. Skip the next 3 doubles, which takes you to the corner again. So you're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets back in that corner. And then we're on the final edge, side, whatever you want to call it, final stretch. We're going to skip over 3 doubles and go in that centre gap again with 3 double crochets. And then that brings us to our final corner chain space. So skip over the last 3 doubles and go straight back into that final corner chain space with 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and then you're going to join it to the top of your chain 3 from the beginning of the round with a slip stitch. There we are. So round 4, I'll do round 4 with you as well. I am sticking with the same colour. Remember, if you are changing colour, to fasten off and turn your work and go in a random corner. I'm sticking, so I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to slip stitch back into that chain space and I'm ready to go again. So chain 3, 2 double crochets back into the corner chain space, skip 3 double crochets and then 3 double crochets in the next gap. Repeat that again, skip 3 double crochets and 3 double crochets in the next gap. And then that brings us to the corner chain space where you're going to place your 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the same corner, and then just keep repeating what we've just done, skipping your 3 doubles and going in the gaps and chain spaces only. So in the next gap 3 double crochets. Next gap, 3 double crochets. Next corner, 3 doubles. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the same corner. And then again, 3 doubles in the next gap. Lost it. 3 doubles in the next gap, which brings us back to the corner again, where you'll do 3 double crochets. Oh, hang on, I don't like how much yarn I had on that bit. Let's do that one again. That's better. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Just make sure you've always got your 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles in each corner. Then last bit, 3 doubles in all the gaps, which brings us to the final corner chain space, where we're going to place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then join it to the top of your chain 3 with a slip stitch. I'm changing colour, so I'm going to fasten off here. Like so. Right, what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how you're going to measure the granny square. Let's get my tape measure, yes. So what we're going to do is measure across the centre. What you need to do is have a look in the written description, and you need to find the measurement for the width of a granny square for the size that you are working towards. Now I'm doing a small and mine says 25 centimetres. Now you might not get that exact measurement, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a little bit under or a little bit over. It really does not matter, okay? As long as you're close to that measurement, it will be fine. Because we're doing made to measure and we're all using different yarns, different hooks, and it's the granny square as well. So when you're adding an extra round, you're adding to each side. You're not just adding like a row on top of each other or to the side. You're doing a whole round. So it is quite tricky to get that exact measurement. So don't panic. So what you're going to do is you're going to go straight across the centre, side to side, or up and down, whatever you prefer. I always do side to side. So I'm up to 10 centimetres at the moment. So I've got a little way to go to get to 25, but that's okay. That's okay. And one more tip I will say is if you've got lots of ends like I'm going to have, what I do is I always weave my ends as I go, and I leave the very centre tail. I leave that one and I don't weave it in, but what I do is I weave, what I do is weave all of my ends on this side only with the centre tail, and this side will become the wrong side of my sweater and the side will become the right one. And it's just a good way of remembering, because if not I end up weaving them and I'm like, I can't remember what side I was weaving them on. Oh my goodness. So I find that's very helpful if you keep that centre tail just there right till the very end. And I'm not got to admit, I've still got a few garments in my wardrobe right now that still have this in it. Don't tell no one. One day I might weave them in, or I might not. Show me. Do what I want. As long as no one knows or no one sees them, doesn't matter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add my next couple of rounds to my other granny square. And I'm going to meet you back here when you have 2 granny squares that measure the measurement of the width of the granny square for the size you are making. Okay, so we'll come back here together when we've both got 2 full-sized granny squares. Okay, so I've worked up my 2 granny squares. I'm making a size small, which says I needed to work roughly towards 25 centimetres. Let's get my tape measure. I'm about 24.5, so I'm just going to leave it there. That's absolutely fine. Doesn't matter if you're not on that measurement, remember, just as long as you're close to it, then it'll be absolutely fine. So for the next section, what we're going to be doing is adding extra width to our squares. So rather than going all the way around, we are just going to be adding some rows of granny stitches on this side and this side. Basically 2 opposite sides. We're just going to be adding rows, and it's going to turn our granny squares into rectangles. We're going to do this for both of our squares, not just one. It's going to be for both of them. I'm going to put this one to one side. Now if you go on the written description, you're going to need to find the measurement for adding width to your squares. I'm doing a size small, and it says I should aim for the measurement of 7.5 centimetres. And one very important thing you need to know is that you need to add an even number of rows each side, not odd. Okay, so it needs to be an even number of rows so that when you come to do the neckline shaping, it will all go in nicely. Whereas if it's an odd number, you're going to struggle to make your neckline shaping come in nicely. I don't quite know how to say it, but you'll see when we get there. So I'm going to need to try and add, I'm going to aim again for 7.5 centimetres on each side, not just in total. It's going to be 7.5 centimetres on this side, 7.5 centimetres on this side, as close as I can get to it with an even number of rows. So your last round needs to be wrong side facing you. Mine is currently right side facing me, so I'm going to just flip it over, grab my yarn and put a slip knot on there. And then I am going to go in any corner, doesn't matter which one, with my last row of stitches wrong side facing me. And I'm going to join in with a slip stitch and then chain 3. And then put 1 double crochet back in that same corner chain space. Just 1. And then we're going to continue our normal stitch pattern of skipping 3 double crochets and putting 3 double crochets in all of the gaps, just the same as doing a granny square. So skip your 3 doubles and oh, don't do that. Skip your 3 doubles and put 3 doubles into each gap all the way across. Skip 3 doubles in the next gap. Nice and easy. Oh, I've got a bit hooked up there. Oh. Sorry, my daughter just came downstairs from out of bed. Having to do this once I put the kids to bed. Not ideal, but that's the 6 weeks holidays, isn't it? So where are we? Yeah, we're working our 3 doubles in all of the gaps until you get to the next corner chain space, which is where I am right now. So I've got my 3 doubles here, and what you're going to do in this corner chain space is put 2 double crochets, not 3, it's just 2. Eep. Eep. Now that is row 1. I need to change my colour. What colour am I next? This lovely yellowy, I don't really know what kind of colour it is. Buttercup yellow, I think I'd call that. It's gorgeous, I love it. Now, I am going to change colour, so I'm just going to undo my last stitch, and I'm going to change colour by finishing off the last stitch of my round with my new colour. You can change colour however you wish, okay? If you've got a different way you prefer to do it, then do it. It honestly does not matter. I'm going to do it this way. So I've just undone my final double crochet that went in this corner chain space. I'm going to do half of the stitch, and then I'm going to join in my new yarn colour. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to place my hook in the chain space and draw up a loop, which has given me 3 loops on my hook. Next, I am going to yarn over and draw through 2 hoops, like so. And then I'm going to drop that colour because that's done with now. I'm going to find my new colour. Probably should have got that bit more ready. I don't know where the end is. Always the way, isn't it? Look, it's showing me up. Where are you? Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. And then I'm just going to hook that and pinch it to keep it tight. And then I'm going to pull it through the final 2 loops. And now I've changed my colour. Now I need to grab my working end, which is here. And then I'm going to chain 3 to start the next round. And then I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm ready to start row 2. I keep saying round, I do apologise. It's because this pattern swaps between round and row all the time. So, right, so we're just having 1 double crochet or a chain 3 at each end of this row. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to skip over the next double crochet, and I'm going to go straight into the next gap with 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to carry on doing the normal granny stitch. So we're going to be skipping over these 3 doubles and going in every single gap with 3 double crochets. So skip 3, 3 doubles in the next gap, just like we have been doing all the way through. So I'm just going to pause the video and meet you back here when you get to that final gap. Okay? Okay, so I'm near the end of row 2. I've got 3 doubles here and that final gap. So I'm going to put 3 doubles back in that final gap. And that then leaves us with the double crochet and the chain 3 from the previous round. So we're going to skip over the first double crochet and we're going to go straight in the top of that chain 3 with a double crochet, and that finishes round 2. But before I do, oh no, actually no, I'm not changing colour. I'm not changing colour, so I can finish this round because I'm not changing colour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to where I've just changed my colours here, because I'm still attached to my green olive green colour. So I'm just going to leave a tail end of that and snip it off about here. Now, all this again is personal preference. Some people just say weave your ends in really tightly. I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know if I can. So what I'm going to do is just put a little double knot in mine, just to make sure it stays where it's supposed to. Don't pull it too tight. Doesn't need, like the first knot anyway, don't pull that tight. The second one you can go a bit more like, but that first one, don't pull the first one too tight, otherwise it's going to draw your ends in a bit. So yes, I'm sticking with the same colour. So row 3 is basically the same as row 2, but we're working into this, like this, oh, not really working, oh, where are we working the stitches? I think we might be a little bit at the beginning and the end, rather than working into that corner chain. So round, there we go again. Look, row 3 is going to be basically like row 1 repeated. So what we're going to do is chain 3, turn our work, and that chain classes as your first double crochet. I'm going to put 1 more double crochet back into the same stitch, back into the base of that chain 3. So we've got 2 at the beginning, and we're going to end with 2 at this end, just like we did with row 1. Row 1. Right, now we're going to skip over the next 3 double crochets and go back into the gaps with 3 doubles, just like we normally did, or normally do on the granny square. Hang on, I just need to move my old colour out the way because I'm getting hooked up. Put that over there. Right, where are we? So yes, we're skipping over 3 double crochets and we're going in all the gaps with 3 double crochets. Skip 3, 3 in the next gap. Skip 3, 3 in the next gap. And so on and so forth. And keep doing this until you get to your final gap. Oh, I got twisted up again. Right, I'm coming to the end of my row. I'm putting 3 doubles in my final gap. And then what that leaves you with is 3 double crochets and like a little bit of a gap here, and then the chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. So what you're going to do is skip over your 3 double crochets, and we're just going to put 2 double crochets in the top of the turning chain. Or if you find it a bit fiddly, you can put 2 double crochets in this gap if you want, but I do try and put it in the turning chain because I feel it gives me a straighter edge. But again, personal preference. If you prefer to put it in the gap, then put 2 doubles in there, or if you want to try and wiggle it in the top of your turning chain, put them in there. Doesn't matter which one. So 2 double crochets right at the end of the row. Ah, hang on, I'm changing colour. Sorry everyone. I'm changing colour, so I'm just going to finish my final double crochet with my new colour, which is this gorgeous, gorgeous, like dusky pink. I really need to have a look at the labels, don't I? I'm terrible because people say, what colours did you use? And I'm like, oh, I just get so carried away. I just rip them off and throw them in the bin. It's a bit silly, really, because this colour is gorgeous. Along with the yellow. Okay, so where's my yarn? I'm going to finish off my final stitch with my new colour. So I'm just going to hook it over my hook, pinch it to keep it nice and tight, and pull it through my final 2 loops of the double crochet. And then I'm going to find my working end, which is here. get my tension, and then I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work for the next row. Now the next row is row 2 repeated. So basically all we're going to be doing is repeating row 1 and row 2, row 1, row 2, row 1, row 2, until you reach as close as you can get to the measurement that I've provided. And remember, it has to be an even number of rows. So what row am I on now? I'm on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is now my 4th row. So I'm going to do this one with you, and I'm going to measure it to see where I'm at. So this is the row where we have 1 double crochet at each end, although technically the chain 3 classes as your double crochet. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next double crochet and go straight into that gap there, and we're going to place 3 double crochets right into that gap. Oops. And then skip 3 and put 3 back into the next gap. And so on and so forth. So forth. Can't get my words out right. Ever. It's very annoying. So yeah, keep putting your 3 doubles in every single gap. Keep going until you get to that final gap where you're going to place 3 more doubles. And again, that leaves you with a double crochet and your turning chain from the beginning of the other row. So you're just going to skip over that double crochet and put 1 double crochet in the top of the turning chain. If I can get it in there, top of the chain 3. Sometimes I find if you twist the stitch towards you, the top of it, twist it up towards you, that just goes straight through the top. And that's what I usually do, because sometimes that can be quite fiddly to get it in there. That's my little tip. Okay, so I've done 4 rows so far. I've not really made it easy on myself because I'm doing it 2s, like the colours are in 2s. So yeah, it's like my cut-off point between my square and my new rows. Can't really see it that well. I've got to remember 1 green, measure from 1 green. So I need to work towards 7.5 centimetres, it says. I am currently at about just 4, just a little bit over 4. So what you're going to do is keep working rows 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. I'll do row 2, no, it'll be row 1. I'll do row 1 with you again, and then I'll let you get on with it. I'll stop chuntering. So this is the row 1 where we have 2 doubles at each end. So I'm going to chain 3, turn my work and place another double crochet in the base of this chain 3. So it's in the same stitch. Then you're going to skip over the next 3 double crochets and go into the next gap with 3 double crochets. And again, skipping over all of the 3 doubles and putting 3 doubles in every single gap. Nice and easy. You just got to remember, for row 1, you have 2 doubles at each end. And for row 2, you just have 1 double at each end. 2, 1, 2, 1. But the rows are 1, 2, 1, 2. Hope I'm not sounding too confusing. there will be a written pattern available for this as well on all my selling platforms, Ravelry, Etsy, Lovecrafts. I need to get on Ribbler a bit more. I'm hoping to do all of that, get all my patterns on Ribbler once my children are back at school. That's one of my goals for one of my new working days. Very excited to literally go at this with a lot more hours to spare. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, well, I'm at the end of the row, so we've got 3 doubles left and that little gap, and then the chain 3 from the previous row. Now remember what I said, if you prefer to go in that gap with your last 2 double crochets, that's fine. Or if you'd like to go in the top of your chain 3, that's also fine. I like to go in the top of my chain 3. So it doesn't matter which way, okay? Whichever way is easiest for you, then do it. So 2 double crochets to end that row. I've got to change colour. But I'm going to stop recording for a bit now. You've got to continue doing these rows. Row 1, row 2, row 1, row 2. Oh, hang on, someone's coming in again. Or are they? Yeah. I'm so sorry, that was my son that time to let me know that his camper van toy has got a peace signal on it. Oh! Okay, what was I saying? So what you're going to keep doing is repeating rows 1 and 2, 1 and 2 until you reach that estimated measurement that I've provided. Remember, it's got to be an even number of rows that you add. So once you've done that, you're then going to go to the opposite side and add the same amount of rows, just like you have done, up and down, okay? Same amount on the same side, so that your last row from the granny square, the original granny square, has the stitches wrong side facing you. Okay, so I'm going to have to join my yarn when I come to do this side. I'm going to keep it like this, and I'm going to join it in the bottom corner. So yeah, I will meet you back here when you have added your extra rows on not just this square, but also your second square. It needs to be on both of them. Okay, so I'll see you back here when you've got 2 rectangles. Okay, so I now have 2 rectangles, one here, one underneath. I've just laid them on top of each other because I don't quite have enough space to fit them in the screen. So what we're going to do now is turn these 2 rectangles into a front panel and a back panel. So I'm just going to take my top one off and put that to one side. And this one is going to become my front panel. So what you need to do now is have a look in the written description for the measurements, and you're going to need to search for the adding neckline section. Now I'm doing small. A small says that I need to add around about 12 centimetres for my neckline shaping. Remember, if you're doing a different size, yours is going to be 12 centimetres, it's going to be something a bit different. So we're going to take my tape measure, and you're going to need some stitch markers. And what we're going to do is just measure one side. For me, remember, I'm doing a small, about 12 centimetres. So I'm going to measure across here. And for me, that falls right here. And what we're going to be doing is placing the stitch markers in the gap closest to that measurement. So mine is here. Now, if for any reason it fell in the middle of this 3 double crochets, then what I would do is I'd place the stitch marker in the gap closer to the edge, not to the centre, because that's going to be where your head's going through with the neckline. So if your measurement falls right in the centre of your 3 double crochets, go for the next gap closest to the edge, not the middle. So what we're going to do now is place a stitch marker in the exact same point where it is on this side, but on this side. Don't really need my tape measure no more, because I want it to be even both sides. I know that here's my original square, that's my corner of the original square, and I'm in the very next gap. So find my original corner for this side, and then place my stitch marker in the next gap. And then all we're going to do now is add about 8 centimetres onto here, from going backwards, forwards, and forwards, just like we've just done on these two sides. So let me come and get in position. I'm knocking everything over, always the way. Okay, get my yarn. Now I am going to attach this with my panel right side facing because I just think it might look a bit neater. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on this end and we're going to go around. What I'm going to call this bit here is I'm going to call it a DC bar, because it's basically, when we turn it this way, it's our double crochets. At the end of each row, we're going to be working around them. Okay, and I'm going to be calling it a DC bar. So I'm going to go around this first DC bar right here to attach my yarn. I'm going to put a slip stitch to attach the yarn. And now we're going to do the exact same thing as what we've just been doing when we added extra width to our squares. We're just going to do the granny stitch backwards and forwards. So I'm going to start off with a chain 3, and then I'm going to put one more double crochet around this DC bar. And then I am going to skip this next DC bar right here. I'm going to go around the very next one with 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to skip the next DC bar and I'm going to go around the next one with 3 double crochets. We're going to keep doing this until we reach our original square. So skip the next DC bar, go around your next one with 3 double crochets. Oh, hang on, I've got a bit caught up there. I like to do that. It's because I'm thinking about what I'm doing rather than just getting on with it. That's my excuse anyway. Okay, so this is now bringing me to the original granny square, and this is why we needed to add an even amount of numbers when we did the side rows, so that we can then place our next, like after we skip the DC bar, we then go straight into the corner chain space from the original granny square. If we had an odd number, then that wouldn't have fallen this way. We'd have put our last lot of 3 double crochets around this DC bar right next to the granny square, and it had been a bit crowded. So here we go, I'm going in my granny square now with 3 double crochets, and I'm now up to my stitch marker. Oh, I've done it again. Oh my goodness. Just put that on there. Okay, so I'm now up to the bit with my stitch marker in. So what we're going to do now is put just 2 double crochets in where the stitch marker is, because that's going to be the end of the row. So 2 double crochets, and that's row 1. I now need to change colour. What's next? Yellow. Let's move that over there. So I'm just going to undo that last stitch and join in my new colour. Right, join in my new colour. Right, then we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and this is the row where we only have 1 at each end. So we're going to skip the next double crochet and go in the next gap with 3 double crochets. Skip the next gap and go in the next one with 3 double crochets. Skip the next 3 double crochets and go in the next gap with 3 double crochets. I hope that's what I said a minute ago. I'm not sure if I did. You know what we're doing. We're skipping all of the blooming double crochets and we go in all the gaps. Skip the next 3 and go in this last gap. Well, it's the last gap for me anyway. and this is where we skip over the last double and we put 1 double crochet in the top of the turn and chain, the chain 3, whatever you want to call it, from the previous row. And then we're going to chain 3, turn our work and put a double crochet into the base of that chain 3 into the same stitch, and just continue doing our granny stitch, skipping over the next 3 doubles and going in the next gap with 3 double crochets, skipping over the next 3 doubles and going in the next gap with 3 double crochets. You know what we're doing by now. We've just done it 4 times, haven't we? So I'll just keep going across and again till I get to the end, and I'll show you just how we'll measure it quickly. I'm at my final bit where I'm putting my 2 doubles right at the end. The kids are playing daddy up. I've just put them to bed and now all I can hear is them playing daddy up. Look, little monkeys. Usually that's me they're playing up because I'm in here recording. I've kind of got the night off slightly. Okay, so I've only done 3 rows already. That's not going to be enough. I know it's not going to be enough, but I'm going to show you how we're going to measure it because you know what you're doing from here. I'm pretty certain you can finish it off nice and easily. So we're going to be adding about 8 centimetres. It doesn't matter. This one does not matter if it's an odd number of rows or an even number of rows. It doesn't matter. Okay, just as long as you're close to 8 centimetres. So I've added about 3.5 centimetres. You're just going to measure. And I don't ever measure from the side. I always measure from the centre. So that's where my row started, that green. And I'm about 3.5 centimetres, so I need to add a few more rows to get to 8 centimetres. And then when you've done this little side, you're going to come straight over to this side and you're going to repeat the exact same process, but you're going to start in the gap with your stitch marker. So you put your 2 double crochets in your gap with your stitch marker, and then you just go across the row backwards and forwards, just remembering when you get to the end of your original granny square, you are going to be skipping DC bars and going around the next DC bar with your 3 doubles. Skip DC bar, go around the next DC bar with 3 doubles. Okay, and I'll meet you back here when you have 2 little bits on here that are kind of almost like a squarey kind of shape for your neckline shaping. 8 centimetres, okay? See you soon. Okay, so I've done my front panel. Looks like this. Looks a little crazy, but that's absolutely fine because once it all gets put together, it's going to look amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to take away my stitch markers because we don't need those no more. And then what we're going to do next is the back panel. It's going to be lovely and easy. So let me just move that out the way. Grab my back panel. I'm going to have it so the right side is facing me. I've still got my little end going on here, which means that's the back of my panel, the wrong side. So all we're going to do now is the same sort of thing. We are going to add the same amount of rows that you added for your neckline shaping on your front panel. So for me, I added an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, an extra 8 rows on mine. So what we're going to do is add the exact same amount of rows along the top of the back panel, but we're going to go straight across. We're not going to have a little gap in the middle like we did for the front panel. We're just going to do the exact same thing with the granny stitch. We're going to go the whole way across. So I'll do probably the first row with you because I'm pretty certain you know exactly what you're doing by now. But I will just do row 1 with you quickly. So you're going to be joining in, or say in, around your DC bar. The last DC bar right on this side here with a slip stitch. Just get that over there, that's better. chain 3, and then another double crochet around the DC bar. Then you're going to skip the next DC bar and go around the next one with 3 double crochets. Skip the next DC bar and go around the next one with 3 double crochets. Again, skip the next DC bar and go around the next one with 3 double crochets. Skip the next DC bar, and oh, that's brought me to my original granny square. Oh, so now we're just going to be doing the same thing where we skip 3 doubles and then put 3 doubles in every gap. Oh, hang on, I didn't go in the gap for that one, I went in the stitch. Oh, my little girl just got out of bed and she's calling me. They're still being little monkeys. It's because of the holidays and they keep getting really tired and then napping in the day and then not going to sleep at night. Got ourselves in a bit of a higgledy-piggledy. Oh, the joys, hey, the joys. Now I'm at the end of my original granny square, which has brought me onto these extension rows that we did at the side. So when you get here, you're going to skip over the first DC bar. Couldn't get my words out right then. And then go around the next DC bar with 3 double crochets. I'm sure you know the drill by now. Skip over the next DC bar and around the next one with 3 double crochets. 2, 3, skip over the next one, go around the next one with 3 double crochets. And then that's brought me to the very last DC bar where I'm just going to put 2 double crochets. And then my next row will be 1 double crochet at each end, and then the next row will be 2 double crochets at each end. But you know that already because we've just done it 6 times now, haven't we? 6 times? No, I can't even work it out. Look, my mouth is terrible. I'm not going to put myself on the spot right now. We've done it loads anyway. So you're going to keep adding the same amount of rows backwards and forwards as to what you added for your front panel. And then I'll meet you back here when you have completed that. And then we will be on to assembling and seaming together. Exciting. Okay, see you soon. Right, I've got my back panel all finished. So what we're going to do next is some assembling. I'm going to put the pieces together. So what we're going to do is, because I've left my little yarn tail on the inside, so that means this is the wrong side. So we're going to put our pieces together so they're right sides touching, right sides facing, however you want to say it. Usually I say like right sides together. So I'm going to have it so the back panel, the right side is now facing me. I'm going to take my front panel, and then I've got the inside here of my yarn tail. That is the wrong side. So this is the right side. I'm going to flip it so that both my right sides are touching each other, like so. Got a few ends going on, move them out the way. Just going to line it up like this. Right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to measure down one side for your armhole. So you need to go look at the measurements in the written description, and you need to find the armhole measurement. I'm making a small. Let's double check what mine is. Mine says that I need to measure 17.5 centimetres. So you're going to need a tape measure, and you're going to need some stitch markers for this part. So I'm just going to measure down one side from the top straight down, 17.5. Now mine is here, and it's kind of in between the middle of a cluster. So I'm just going to go down to the next gap, okay? And then I'm going to get my stitch marker, and I'm going to place one through there. I'm going to count how many granny clusters that I have before the neckline starts. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to get my back piece and count the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to put the stitch marker through the back as well. So that's connected those two parts together. I'm going to come to the other side. I don't need my tape measure no more, because I know that I need to count 4 clusters and then go in the next gap. Move this over a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, go in that gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, go in the back panel as well. And that's joined those together. So that's my armhole. Now, sometimes I suggest that you can put some stitch markers in the top to connect the front panel to the back panel, and then just try it on and make sure that your armhole feels comfortable, not too tight, that sort of thing. But remember, if you keep making your armhole bigger, you might have a bit more bunchiness. I don't really know what word to call it, but a bit of bunching going on under your armpit. By the time you've added your sleeve, any bunching kind of loosens up. But if you've got a massive gap, that might not happen. So, what we're going to do now is connect our pieces together using one of my favourite join methods ever. I don't even know what it is. I call it like a chain 2 zigzag stitch. So we're going to start at the right hand side. Just get my yarn ready. I'm not very prepared. I've just kind of started recording and not got nothing ready yet. So I'm going to get my yarn, attach it to my hook with a slip stitch. Slip knot, not slip stitch. Right, so what we're going to do for this join method, I've used it a few times. If you've done the Granny Peplum, what else have I used it on? I feel like there's something. The hexagon sweater, then you should hopefully be familiar with what we're about to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the very first stitch, which is your chain 3. So you need to go in the top of your chain 3 on the front panel only. And then we're going to put a slip stitch to join that yarn. And then you need to chain 3. No, sorry, chain 2. Don't chain 3, chain 2. Okay, sorry about that. Chain 2, and then you're going to pick up your back panel, and you're going to go through the very first stitch on the back panel with a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 2, and you're going to drop the back panel, and you're going to come to the front. You're going to skip the next stitch and go in the next one with a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 2, drop the front panel and pick up the back one, and do the exact same thing. So we're going to skip your next stitch, and you're going to go in the very next one with a slip stitch. And then just keep repeating. Chain 2, drop the back panel and come to the front one, skip the next stitch and go in the next one with a slip stitch. Chain 2, drop the front panel and pick up your back one, skip the next stitch and go in the next one with a slip stitch. chain 2, front panel, skip stitch, next stitch, slip stitch. How many times do I say stitch? Chain 2, back panel, skip stitch, go in the next one with a slip stitch, chain 2. So keep repeating that process. Front and then back, front and then back. Now the thing is with this one is that some of us are going to end with an even number of stitches and some of us are going to end with an odd number. Now if you've got an odd number, you are going to just keep doing exactly what you're doing right now. Keep skipping stitches. Oof. Hang on, let me get to the end and I can explain it a bit better. Let me just get to this bit. I don't even know how many I've got. I've not even counted. Okay, so I've got an even number, which is good. I'm glad that I've got an even number. Right, if you've got an odd number, you're just going to keep skipping your stitch, going in with a slip stitch, chain 2, go to your back one. You're going to be able to finish the whole row perfectly. But because I've got an even number, when I get to the end of mine, I haven't got the final stitch to skip. It's going to be right next to the stitch that I've just placed. So I've got 3 stitches left. So I'm going to skip the first one on my front panel and go in the next stitch, chain 2, and do the same for the back. But because I've got an even number of stitches, I can't skip a stitch. I have to go in the very next stitch to finish my row, and that's absolutely fine. So what we're going to do, oh no, what are we yarn over for? We're going to go in the front panel with a slip stitch in that final stitch, even though it's right next to my other one. That's absolutely fine. We're going to start this next row with the same pattern that we've just done to make it look even. So go in your back one with a slip stitch, and that's that bit done. Snip that off, and that's one part done. I quite like it. It's like a little zigzag, isn't it? I really like the effect of it. I've been using it loads recently. I just really like it. So yeah, there we go. We'll do the other side. Okay, so we're now coming to the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to be starting from this side and working our way across. So what we need to do is count how many stitches we've got, and we're going to need to place a stitch marker in the back panel so we know which stitch to go through first. So I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 5 clusters and a stitch each end. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my back panel and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters, and I know I've got an extra stitch at this end, so hopefully I've put it in the right one. There's been many times when I've done it, I've been like, oh, I've put that in the right one. So I've popped my little stitch marker, fingers crossed, in the right stitch. We'll find out in a second. So I know that that's the first one that I need to go to, because I've got this little bit at the end and an extra stitch here and then 5 clusters in between, and that should hopefully match what I have on my neckline shaping. Fingers crossed, we will find out. Now if you have got an odd number of stitches and you managed to do your row absolutely fine, you was able to skip a stitch in between every single stitch, then you're going to breeze this row. It's going to be perfect. Just do exactly what you've just done on this side. If you, like me, you've got an even number of stitches, then what we're going to do is we're going to start our row exactly how we finished this side, because we couldn't skip our final stitch. So this is if you've got an even number, okay? If you've got an odd, just make sure you skip every stitch. But this is for the people that have an even number. So go in your first stitch. For me, that is the top of a chain 3. Wait, hang on a minute. It's going to play me up now, isn't it? Bonk. So I'm going to join in with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to go in the stitch with my stitch marker in it. Hopefully that is the right one. I've put it in the right place, fingers crossed. And then we're going to chain 2. Now, because we couldn't skip our final stitch, we're going to go in the very next stitch with a slip stitch on the front panel only. Remember, this is even numbers only. If you're odd, you can skip every stitch in between. And then in the back panel, you're going to go with a slip stitch in the very next stitch. And now we're going to go back to normal. So we're going to chain 2, drop your back panel and come to the front, skip the next stitch and go in the next one with a slip stitch. And hopefully you should be able to keep skipping stitches in between. I've now gone to my back panel and skipped a stitch and done a slip stitch. Chain 2, come to the front, skip a stitch, go in the next one with a slip stitch, chain 2. Come to the back, skip a stitch, go in the next one with a slip stitch, chain 2, and just keep repeating that process all the way across to the end, and you should be able to skip stitches in between for the rest of the row. So yeah, I will meet you once you've done this section and got to the end, and then we will do side seams. Okay, so I've done both my shoulder panels. They have both been seamed together. We're now going to do the exact same stitch for the side seams. So I'm just going to flip this round, doesn't matter which way. And what we're going to be doing now is working from the bottom all the way up to this stitch marker. So again, grab my yarn, attach it through the front panel only and the first stitch with a slip stitch, chain 2, pick up the back panel and go through the very first stitch with a slip stitch, chain 2, come to the front panel only, skip a stitch, go in the next stitch with a slip stitch, chain 2, skip the next stitch on the back panel and go through the next stitch with a slip stitch, chain, oh hang on, my yarn's gone a bit funny there, let's just through that bit again. Oh, now I've lost my chain. Need to just add an extra chain on that one. Where are we? Right, back panel, skipping a stitch, going in the next one with a slip stitch, chain 2, come to the front, skip the next stitch, go in the next one with a slip stitch, chain 2, skip the next stitch, go in the next one with a slip stitch. So yeah, hopefully you've got the hang of it now, and if so, I will meet you. Hang on, just get that in there. Yep, I'll meet you once you've done your side seams. So just keep going all the way up to your stitch marker, and then when you've done this side, you're just going to flip your work over and you're going to do exact same thing, starting from, oh God, where'd that come from? Starting from the bottom again, go all the way to the stitch marker, okay? With this lovely chain 2 zigzag stitch. So I'll meet you back here when you've seamed your sides. Right, I've done both of my side seams. Got my lovely little zigzag going on. I've been a good girl. I've weaved in my ends for my seams. So what we're going to do now is we are going to turn our sweater the right way, facing. So let's turn it around like this. There we go. So for the next section, we're going to do the sleeves. Now the sleeves are tapered. We do a decrease on row 2. It's a 6 stitch pattern. I'd say a 6 round stitch pattern with a decrease on round 2. We keep doing the 6 rounds and the decrease until you're happy with the fit of your sleeve. That's the best thing to do, is just to keep trying it on really and just think, yeah, I like that, or it needs another decrease round. So yeah, I'm going to help you work your way through that. So doesn't matter which side you start on, I'm just going to pick this one. Get your sleeve, open it out a bit, whatever. I'm going to get my yarn and attach it to my hook. So what we're going to do is this seam bar, I'm going to call it, where you've just done your zigzag stitch, this one right at the top, I'm going to call that the seam bar. We're going to be attaching our yarn around that seam bar. So attach your yarn with a slip stitch around the seam bar. And then you're going to chain 3 and put 2 more double crochets around that seam bar. And then we're going to come on to the side where we've got 3 double crochets. You're going to skip over those and go in the next gap with 3 double crochets. Skip the next 3, go in the next gap with 3 doubles. Carry on with skipping 3 doubles, go in the next gap with 3 double crochets. And then I've now come to the final gap after these 3 doubles, and next we're going to be working into the DC bars. So we're going to skip the next DC bar and go in the very next one, or not say go in, going to go round the next one with 3 double crochets. Skip the next DC bar, go around your next one with 3 double crochets. Skip the next DC bar, go around the next one with 3 double crochets. Skip the next DC bar, keep going until you reach your seam bar in the middle. Now you might have a little bit different to me, but it does not matter because it's still going to work out absolutely fine. Mine turns out that I'm skipping the seam bar. Now some of you might be working around the seam bar. That's absolutely fine, okay? Just depends how many rows you added onto your neckline shaping. So for me, I need to skip over my seam bar and go around the next DC bar. If yours makes it so you go around the seam bar, that's fine, don't worry about that. So I'm coming back down the other side now, skipping the next DC bar and going around the very next one with 3 double crochets. Oh, hang on, I've started to hook the DC bar underneath it. Skipping the next DC bar again, going around the next one with 3 double crochets. I'm going to keep doing this until you get back to skipping 3 double crochets, till you get back to the regular stitch pattern. I'm now there, I'm now going in a chain space. So 3 double crochets in my chain space, and now I'm back to skipping 3 double crochets again and going in the gap with 3 double crochets. So keep doing this all the way around until you get to the beginning of the round. I'm nearly there with mine. Alright, sorry, I'm not saying what I'm doing there. I've got my final 3 doubles here, and I'm now going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 right from the beginning of the round. And that's round 1. Right, this one is round 2 and it is the decrease round. Now I am sticking with the same colour. If you're changing colour, then you need to fasten off, and then what you need to do is turn your work so your last round is wrong side facing you. And then you're just going to keep in line, so join your yarn back in a gap which keeps it at the bottom of the underarm, basically. Pretty much where we are, to be fair. You can pick which side you go in, but as long as you keep in line with the underarm, that's fine. Now I am sticking with the same colour. Oh, I've got all twisted now. For this round, I'm sticking with the same colour. So what I'm going to do is chain 3 and turn. Now if you changed your colour, what you're going to do is join in your gap with your wrong side facing you, and then you're just going to chain 3, and then we should all be at the same point right now with our chain 3. So because this is a decrease round, what we're going to do is we're going to just do our chain 3. We're not going to do anything in this gap. We're going to skip over the next 3 double crochets and then place 3 doubles in this gap here. So we've just got our chain 3 here, and we're going to go straight into skipping these 3 doubles. Then we're going to go in the next gap with 3 double crochets. And then continue the stitch pattern. So skip your 3 doubles and go in the next gap with 3 double crochets. We're going to keep doing this until we reach the very last gap. So keep putting your 3 doubles in all the gaps until you get to your last gap. Don't put any crochets, don't put any crochets in the gap. Don't put anything in the gap in the final one. You have to keep turning your work when you're doing sleeves, don't you? Otherwise you get a bit twisted. The longer the sleeve gets, the more you keep turning it. The beauty though with these ones, because we're tapering them and we're doing a decrease, we start to lose stitches, which means it takes less time to make the sleeve. Because let's face it, sleeves can be a blooming nightmare. They can, can't they? They can feel never ending sometimes, especially if you do change colour a lot, like me. They can feel never ending. Sleeve Island, we call it, don't we? Stranded on Sleeve Island. Send for help. So I'm just still putting my 3 doubles in all the gaps whilst waffling on. I'm getting there. Okay, so what I have left is this gap here, and I also have my 3 doubles, and then I have my chain 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to totally skip this final gap. Sorry about that. Right, we're going to skip this final gap right here, and we're going to place 2 double crochets in top, or in the top of these 2 stitches right here, and then we're going to join it up to your chain 3. Okay, so we're going to skip this gap right here, and I'm going to go in this stitch instead. We're not going to go in the gap. I'm going to go in that stitch with a double crochet, and then I'm going to go in the next stitch with another double crochet, and then I'm going to join it to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round, and that is your decrease round. Oh, I can't get it in, look. It's being a bit awkward. Oh, you little monkey. I might have done it a bit tight. There we go. We're in. Oh no, hang on. I've gone and yarned over now. Sorry, everybody. Always the way, isn't it? There we go. So it's going to look a bit like that, if you can see that. Okay. So we've skipped that last gap, but instead we've put 2 doubles in here in the top of the last stitches and then joined it to your chain 3, and that is your decrease round. Right, now it's time for round 3 of the sleeve. Now if you're sticking with the same colour, what you are going to do you're going to slip stitch into this gap and then turn your work and you're ready to go again. But I'm not sticking with the same colour, I'm changing my colour. So I'm just going to undo that little slip stitch and fasten off. Where are we? Get my yarn, my new colour, because I'm changing colour every 2 rounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work before I insert my new colour so that my last round is wrong side facing. I'm going to line it up so that I'm going in somewhere near the underarm, like so. I'm going to join in with a slip stitch, chain 3, we're ready to go. So we're going to put 2 more double crochets in that same gap and then skip the next 3 double crochets and go in the next gap, and this is all we're going to do for this round. Oh, nice and simple. It's only the decrease round really where it's a bit different. And after this round, if you've stuck with the same colour, I'm going to show you how to recenter your seam, because if you're using the same colour, your seam might start to go a little diagonal after you've done your decrease round. If you're changing colours like me, you get to pick where you're going to place your, well, where you're going to start it, aren't you? You get to pick what gap you're going to go in so it like matches the underarm. But if you're sticking with the same colour, your seam might start to go a little bit diagonal. So I've got a little tip just to bring it back to the centre again. Even though I've changed colour, I'm still going to show you what to do. So you're just going to keep placing 3 double crochets in all of the gaps all the way around the sleeve. And this is round 3. So yeah, just keep going in all the gaps. I'm going to meet you back here when I get to the end of the round, and I'll show you my little tip if you've used the same colour, how to just get your seam back into the centre again. Okay, so I'm now at the end of this round. What I'm going to do is slip stitch to the top of my chain 3 to join it together. Now, if you've been changing colours, you can ignore this, because every time you change, like every time you attach your new colour, you can just line it up with the underarm. But if you're sticking with the same one, you might find that your seam is going a little bit off centre. So what you're going to do is keep your work right side facing, and you're going to slip stitch into the next 3 stitches. So you go 1, 2, 3. So you've slip stitched into 3 stitches, and then you're just going to slip stitch into the next gap, and then you're going to chain 3 and turn your work, and then you're just going to carry on as normal doing the next round. Okay, that just brings your stitch back into the centre, so it's not going off on a diagonal, not your stitch, sorry, your seam. It's going to bring it back into the centre to match the underarm. Now, because I'm changing colour every 2 rounds, I don't really need to do it. Oh, mind you saying that, but it has gone off a little bit. Actually, yeah, I am going to keep mine as it is. I'm going to keep it. I've just pulled that one out though. I'm just going to have to put my slip stitch back in there again. Yeah, I will keep mine actually, because it did go off a little bit there. And that's brought me back in line with the under armlet just by hang on, let me just get rid of that bit a minute. Because I was here after that. I was here, so if I went again, my seam is then going off on a diagonal. But I've slip stitched into the next 3 stitches and also the gap, and it's brought me back in line with my seam, which means I'm going to be at the bottom of the underarm. Right there. See? So I'm sticking with the same colour. So I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. If you're changing colour, then you fasten off, still turn your work and attach your yarn into a gap which is in line with the underarm. And then basically for this round, this is round 4, we're going to be doing the same regular pattern of 3 double crochets in every gap all the way around. Oh, got hooked up. Basically, the round two is your decrease round. All the other rounds are just putting the 3 double crochets in every gap. Ooh. But the reason I'm going through it all is because, like I said about the seam, where it goes off on a diagonal. But now you know, to bring it back in, you just slip stitch across 3 stitches and go in the next gap with a slip stitch, and then you're ready to go again. So this is round 4. After this, we've got 2 more rounds. Well, I say actually, yeah, we've got 2 more rounds, and then we go back to round 1. So if you've got the written pattern, the sleeves are written as rounds 1 to 6, and you're basically just repeating rounds 1 to 6 until you are happy with how many decreases you have in your sleeve. So this is round 4. Just going in all the gaps with 3 double crochets. And then joining to the top of your chain 3 with a slip stitch. There we go. So I am changing colour. If you're not going to change colour, just chain 3 and turn your work so you're ready to go for the next round. But I'm changing colour, so I'll see you back here for round 5. Right, this is round 5 of the sleeve. I'm just going to attach my yarn because I've changed colour. I've got my work, my last round, wrong side facing me. So I'm ready just to chain 3 and start again. So we're just going to do exactly the same thing of placing 3 double crochets in all the gaps. I've got my chain 3 here, so I'm going to put 2 double crochets in my first gap and then skip 3 double crochets in the next gap, skip 3 double crochets in the next gap, and just keep putting 3 double crochets in all the gaps. And that is round 5. I am just going through rounds 1 to 6 with you because they're the ones that are going to get repeated. Like I say, you're going to keep repeating rounds 1 to 6 until you are happy with the fit of your sleeve, with the decrease. Then after that, you're just going to keep repeating this same thing where you put in your doubles in all the gaps until you're happy with the length. Oh, my yarn's got stuck. So yeah, 3 double crochets in all the gaps. I love this colour so much. It's like a buttery yellow. Right, I'm getting near the end of my round. Placing 3 doubles in my last gap, and then I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch. I'm sticking with my same colour for round 6. So I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. Remember, if you're using a new colour, attach your yarn, but make sure that you've turned your work before you attach your yarn. And then we're going to put 2 doubles back into the same gap and do exactly the same as what we've just done. This is round 6, just going in all the gaps again with 3 double crochets. So if you think it's going to help, you can always write it down, the stitch pattern for the sleeves. Round 1, 3 doubles in all gaps. Round 2, decrease round. Rounds 3 to 6, all put doubles in all the gaps. And then you go back to round 1 again. All doubles in the gaps. Round 2, decrease. Rounds 3 to 6, doubles in all the gaps. And you keep repeating those 6 rounds over and over until you are happy with the fit of your sleeve. And after that, you just keep adding doubles in all the all the gaps, and you add as many rounds as you like until you are happy with the length of your sleeve. That's simple. The key is counting your round, counting the rounds basically. If you're a bit like, oh, do I need to do a decrease on this round? I'm not sure. You could always use a stitch marker and place a stitch marker in every first round of the stitch pattern, so you know that the next round after that stitch marker is going to be your decrease round. There we go. I've now done round 6. Now mine's going to be quite easy to look back on because I've changed colour every 2 rounds. My first sweater that I made, I used one colour, and I was constantly like having to go back to find that decrease round. Like, where is it? But you can see it. Sometimes it's a bit tricky to find, but you will see it because it's the 3 doubles coming out of the top of 3 more doubles. So it's kind of like stacked, isn't it? 3 doubles stacked on top of each other, whereas all the rest are in the gaps. So I know that the one that's on top of these 3 stitches here, directly on top, is my decrease round. So if you look back, you can be like, so that's round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, I need to start right back at round 1 again. Round 1, normal DCs in all of the gaps. Round 2, that decrease round that we done. Round 3, regular. Round 4, regular. Round 5, regular. Round 6, regular. And then you go right back to round 1 again and keep repeating that stitch pattern until you are happy with the fit of your sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to do rounds 1 and 2 again, so you can see me do the decrease round. And then after that, you just need to keep following rounds 1 to 6 until you're happy with the fit. And if you get a bit lost, you can always rewind it again and watch those 6 rounds again. But I am going to change my colour because I'm changing colour every 2 rounds. I'll do rounds 1 and 2 with you one more time, okay? And then leave you to it, basically. Right, so I'm going to attach my yarn with my last round facing me. Make sure it's still in line. I'm going to go back here, I think. Okay, so this is round 1 again. Remember, we're repeating rounds 1 to 6. So attach my yarn in a gap with a slip stitch. This round we're going to chain 3, put 2 doubles back in that gap, and this is just a regular round where we're going to put 3 double crochets in all the gaps. Nice and easy. So remember, we've gone and back to the beginning of the stitch pattern for the sleeves, back to round 1. So you've got to remember, okay, 6 rounds. Second round is the decrease. That's all you got to remember. Get in there. Oh, I just got a bit stuck. Oh dear, where are we? Right, I'm now coming to the end of round 1 again. I'm going to join up to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch. And now we're on round 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3 and turn. Remember, if you're changing colour, you're going to turn, attach your yarn and just chain 3. So decrease round one more time. We are going to skip over these 3 double crochets. We've just got our chain 3. We're going to skip over the 3 double crochets and go in the next gap with 3 doubles. And we're going to go in every single gap until you reach the final one. And you're going to leave that gap empty. So keep putting 3 doubles in every gap until you reach the final gap. Right, I'm going to meet you back here rather than you keep watching me do it. I'll meet you back here when you've got 1 gap left. Okay, so I am back here. I have got 1 final gap left right there. We're going to skip that and go into the first stitch. Rather than the gap, we're going to go into the stitches. In the last 2 stitches with double crochets. So 1 double crochet in that stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then attach your yarn to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch. And that is round 2, your decrease round. So next you're going to do round 3 to 6, all regular rounds going in all the gaps. And then you go back to your stitch pattern again, right at the beginning, round 1, which is also a regular round. And then round 2, your decrease round. And I'm going to meet you back here when you have decreased enough for your sleeve. Make sure you try it on and that it fits okay and you're happy with how tight it feels on your arm, and I'll meet you back here when you've got to that point, okay? And then we'll finish the sleeve off together. Right, so I have decreased my sleeve and I'm quite happy with the fit of it. I have decreased, it's quite easy for me because I've got my colours going in twos and I've got 3 sets of colours. So every decrease round fell on my dusky pink. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've decreased 5 times. You might have more, you might have less. It just depends on the fit of, or the fit that you like. So you can either do a 3/4 length sleeve. I've got a measurement for that. Or you can do a full length sleeve. I'm going to go full length for this one because it's starting to get a bit chilly. And so yeah, I want to wear it throughout the winter. So what you're going to do, if you want to add more rounds before adding the edging that we're going to do, is you're just going to keep repeating the granny stitch round until you're happy with the length of your sleeve. So I'm just going to do one with you. I'm going to attach my yarn in here because that's in line with my underarm. Got all bits all over the place. So you're going to chain 3, add 2 doubles in the same gap. We're not going to decrease any more because we're happy with the fit. So you're going to skip your 3 DCs and go in the next gap with 3 DCs. Or double crochets, sorry, I'm talking in short form here. I always think DCs because that's how I write it down. So yeah, just keep placing 3 double crochets in all your gaps. I'll just do this one and then I'm going to measure it to see what length I'm at. I have written down instructions for the measurements. Well, not instructions, but I have written down some measurements for long sleeve and 3/4 length. But if you're making it for yourself, I always say, just try it on. That's the best thing to do. Try it on and see if you're happy with the length. So I'm just placing 3 double crochets in all of the gaps. And that's all I'm going to be doing from now on because I'm happy with how much I've tapered. I will not be adding any more decrease rounds to my sleeve. I'm going to join it to the first chain 3, the top of the chain 3. Right, I'm just going to measure it. So what we're going to do is lay it out. Don't really know if I can fit it all in the screen. About there maybe. Where's my tape measure? Not ready, not prepared. So I'm making a small. If I was to use the measurements on what I've provided, then I need to be working to around about 44 centimetres. So you're going to go from under your arm and right out. Well, I'm at 37.5, so I've not really got that far to go, which is good. So I'm going to keep adding my rounds, and then once I'm happy with my length, I'm going to come back here and we're just going to add a little round with picots in them. I always say picots. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Otherwise you're going to be laughing at me throughout this video, but hey ho, it is what it is. Just say it how it is. Doesn't matter. All means the same thing. So I'll meet you back here when you're happy with the length of your full sleeve, okay? Just keep adding rounds of granny stitch once you're happy with how much you've decreased. See you back here in a minute. Okay, so I'm now happy with the length of my sleeve. We're going to do one more round just to finish it off, and it's going to be a round with single crochets and a picot stitch. So what we're going to do is, because I'm using a different colour, I'm going to attach my yarn so that the right side is facing me of my sleeve, the outside, the right side, whatever you want to call it. If you're using the same colour, you have to turn your work if you're wrong side facing. Or if you're right side facing, just stay where you are. Right, so I'm going to attach my yarn we're going to chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch. Right, and then we're going to put a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now we're going to do a picot. So for this one, we're going to chain 4. And then we're going to come back to the very first chain and we're going to place a slip stitch in that chain. And that's it. And then we're going to put a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to do another picot. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to go in that very first stitch with a slip stitch. And then just keep repeating that same process. A single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then your picot. So you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to come back to that very first chain with a slip stitch, and there you go. I'll do it a couple more times with you. So a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a slip stitch in the first chain. And that's what you're going to do. Keep going all the way around. I'm going to meet you back here when I get to the end of my round, okay? Okay, so I'm right at the end of my round. The last stitch that you're going to do is your picot. So I need to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to go in that very first chain with a slip stitch, and then you're just going to slip stitch to the top of your first single crochet to join it up, and then fasten off, weaving any ends. What you should have is a little bobbly little detail on your cuffs. Just like that. So I'll meet you back here and we'll do the neckline. Okay, so what we're going to do next is the neckline. And what you need to do is you're going to need to count how many rows you added for your neckline shaping. Because if you had an odd number, you're going to be placing your first stitch in a different area than if you had an even number. Just to be super confusing. Ha 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 ha. It's fine though, because I'm going to show you both ways. Okay, so I'm going to count how many rows I added for my neckline shaping. So I have added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got an even number. Now, if you've got an odd number, what you're going to do is we're going to start on your left-hand side, looking down at your sweater. You're going to pick it up. Now, if you've got an odd number of stitches, you are going to attach your yarn around the seam bar. Now, what we're going to be doing is we've been placing 3 double crochets in all the gaps. And what we're going to be doing now is placing 2 double crochets in all the gaps. Just going to knock a stitch off, and that's going to help draw that neckline in a little bit. So this is for the people that have got an odd number of rows on the neckline shaping, okay? If you've got even, just wait a few minutes because I'm going to show you how to do yours. So odd, what you're going to do is you're going to get your seam bar and you're going to attach your yarn with a slip stitch. Chain 3 and place 1 more double crochet in around that seam bar. Now what you're going to do next is skip over the next 3 double crochets that are on the back neckline. There's a bit of a gap here. We're not going to use that. We're going to ignore that gap and we're going to skip 3 doubles, and then you're going to place 2 doubles in the next gap. Again, skip 3, place 2 in the next gap. Oh, I've lost my tension, hang on, it's disappeared. Keep doing that, skipping over your 3 doubles and placing 2 in all the gaps. I'm not going to do it in every single one because I've got an even number. So 2 doubles in all the gaps along the back neckline, and then when you get to the last 3 double crochets on your back neckline, remember you're skipping over that gap there. You're just going to go back round the seam bar on the opposite side and put 2 double crochets in there, and then you're going to be skipping over DC bars instead. So you'll place 2 double crochets around your seam bar, skip the next DC bar, place 2 double crochets around that seam bar. Okay, I'm just going to unravel this one because I've got an even number. So if you have an even number of stitches, we're going to come straight onto the back neckline and we're going to place, well, we're going to attach our yarn in the first double crochet. So you got like your set of 3 double crochets after this seam bar. We're going to go in the first stitch with a slip stitch. This is if you've got an even number of rows on your neckline shaping. Then we're going to chain 3 and put another double crochet in that same stitch. And then we're going to skip over the next 2 doubles and we're going to go straight into the gap and put 2 double crochets. We're basically doing the same thing all the way around if we're odd and even. But the starting point is different, that's all. And odd use the seam bar, whereas us evens are not going to be using the seam bar. We're going to be skipping over it. So in every single gap, we're just placing 2 double crochets, skipping over 3 double crochets and putting 2 double crochets in every gap along the back neckline. Oh, I'm getting all hooked up. Okay, so I am now left with 3 double crochets and then the seam bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over the next 2 doubles. Sorry, I'm going to skip over my next 2 double crochets and place 2 double crochets in the third stitch, the third double crochet. Exactly what we just did when we began. Right, now because I'm even, I'm going to be skipping over the seam bar. Remember, if you're odd, you're going to be in that seam bar. So I'm going to go around the next DC bar with 2 double crochets. We're now going to be coming down the side of our sweater. So we're going to keep skipping a DC bar and going around the next one with 2 double crochets. Skipping the next DC bar, going around the next one with 2 double crochets. Skip the next DC bar again, going around the next one with 2 doubles. And we're going to keep doing that until we end up on the front of our sweater, where we're going to be going in the gaps and then skipping over 3 doubles and going in the gaps with 2. So do this all the way across the front of the sweater. Just placing your 2 doubles in every gap. Until you come to the side of your sweater on the neckline. I'm now going in the final gap before I get to the DC bars. So I need to skip the next DC bar and go around the next one with 2 double crochets. Oh goodness, what am I doing? Skip the next DC bar and go around the next one with 2 double crochets. Again, skip and DC bar, go around the next one with 2 double crochets. Keep doing that until you get to the end of the round, which I am there right now. So I'm at the seam bar because I'm even. I don't use the seam bar. So I'm now going to attach my yarn, I'm now going to go through the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch to join the round. That's what I meant to say, not attach my yarn. Like so. We're going to do one more round after this, and that's going to be the Picot round. We're going to have another little round of picots. I'm just going to have a look at mine. I think I'm just deciding. Oh, sorry, I'm just having a little brainstorm here, aren't I, on the video. Just wondering whether or not to stick with my mustard yellow, or do I do my picots with a bit of the pink. I've got yellow picots here. Do you know, I think I'm going to change colour for mine. Let me just quickly fasten off. I'm going to fasten off and I'm going to change colour. So I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, so the final round, we're still going to be working with the right side facing us. So don't turn your work or anything like that. I'm just going to attach my yarn with a slip stitch because I'm changing colour. So all you're going to do for this round is a single crochet and then a single crochet with a picot on top. So we're going to chain 1 and place a single crochet in the very same stitch. Then we're going to go in the next stitch with a single crochet, chain 4, and then slip stitch in that very first chain. Oh, I've just come out. Slip stitch. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2, and then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch in that very first chain. Then come back to the next 2 stitches where we're going to put a single crochet in each stitch. So 1 single crochet in that one, 1 single crochet in the next one, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then slip stitch to the first chain, and then just keep repeating the same process. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, chain 4, 1, 2, oh hang on, my yarn's got stuck, 3, 4, and then slip stitch in that very first chain, and then start again. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, place a single crochet in that very first chain, not a single, a slip stitch, sorry, a slip stitch in the very first chain, and then a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Oh my goodness. It's quite hard, you know, sometimes trying to say what you're doing. Like my brain just disappeared then to a show I was watching last night on Netflix, and I just kind of went in autopilot. That's why I said the wrong stitch. That's my excuse anyway. So you've just done a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. You're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch in the first chain. Yes, and just keep doing that. Yeah, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, chain 4, slip stitch in the first chain, and just keep doing the same thing. I'll do one more with you. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a slip stitch in that very first chain. And you're going to keep repeating that all the way around, and that's going to give you this pretty little picot edging around your neckline. So I'll meet you back here when you've done the neckline. Or I'll meet you back here right before the end, and then we'll join it together. Okay, so I'm at the end of my round. I've just got one more picot left to do. So I'm going to chain 4, slip stitch to the first chain. And then we're going to join it by slip stitching to the very first single crochet. And that's a neckline. It says fasten off. Yes, I'm really happy with this colour choice. Very happy. So yeah, just got to weave in some ends, but apart from that, love it. So I'll meet you back here in a minute, and we're going to add some rounds to the bottom of the sweater. Getting close, guys, getting close. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to turn our sweater upside down and work around the bottom. So I'm just going to literally flip it round. I've still got the front facing me, the front of the sweater. Let me just move the arms out of the way. Right, let me get my yarn. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to be working from the right side, and we're going to find that seam bar that went down the sides where we joined the sides together, and we're going to attach our yarn around the DC bar before that seam bar. Okay, so we're going to attach our yarn around this DC bar before the seam bar with a slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 3 and put 2 more double crochets around that DC bar. We're back to doing our normal 3 double crochets around every other DC bar and then in the gaps. So I'm going to skip over my seam bar, and I'm going to go around the next DC bar with 3 double crochets. And I'm going to keep repeating that until I reach my original granny square in the centre. So keep skipping over your DC bars and going in around the next DC bar with 3 doubles. Keep doing that, skipping a DC bar, going around the next one with 3 double crochets. Keep going until you reach your original granny square. I'm there now, so I'm going in my old, which was the corner chain space, with 3 double crochets, and then we go back to our regular stitch pattern of skipping 3 double crochets and putting 3 double crochets in every gap. So keep skipping 3, 3 in the gap, skip 3, 3 in the gap. Nice and easy. I love these sort of projects. I don't even know if I've said this already, I probably have. But you don't have to count any stitches. So you can just sit there and binge watch your favourite TV show. The only thing I usually do is like I get to a certain point and I'm like, oh, I only put 2 double crochets in there. Or I might have put 4 in there instead of 3. So a handy tip, if you are watching a TV show and doing this at the same time, every few minutes, I'll just go back and just run my fingers along and check that every gap or DC bar that I've gone in has got 3 doubles and not 2 or 4. Don't hurt just to have a little glance back now and again. Saves a bit of heartbreak of having to frog it all the way back. A few rows, 1 or 2, I suppose it'd be 1 row really, wouldn't it? If you'd notice it on the next row. So keep going in all your gaps with 3 double crochets until you come back to where the extra width that you added on. Oh, hang on, that's not quite double. Yeah, until you reach where you added the extra width to the sides. And now we're going to be skipping over a DC bar and going around the next DC bar with 3 double crochets. Keep skipping your DC bars and 3 DCs around the next one. Where am I? In here. Keep going, and you should end in the DC bar right next to your seam bar. Yeah, and then you skip over your seam bar and go around the next DC bar, all these bars with 3 double crochets. Okay, so you're going to repeat that again all along the back, and I'll meet you back here when you've done this round. Okay, so I've done my 3 doubles all the way around, and I'm at the end of my round, and I'm now about to skip over my final DC bar and attach my yarn to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round. Oh, if it'll go in there. There we go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to keep adding rounds of the granny stitch, just like kind of when you did your sleeve, but we're not putting decreases in it. So yeah, if you are changing, no, if you're sticking with the same colour, you are going to chain 3 and then turn your work. So we're still going to keep turning our work after every round. Yeah, and then you're ready to get going again with your 2 doubles in here, blah de blah de blah 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 blah, and then placing 3 double crochets in every single gap all the way around. I'm changing colour though, so I'm going to fasten off. Oh, if I can pick it up. What colour am I next? This yellow mustard colour. So yeah, keep turning your work after every round. So I'm just going to attach my yarn with a slip stitch in the gap that I've just come out of, basically. I've just fastened off from. And I'm going to chain 3 and put 2 doubles back in that gap, and then skipping over 3 double crochets and then putting 3 double crochets in all of the gaps. So we're just going to keep doing this until either you're happy with your length or you're using the measurements that I've provided. So let me just get this out a minute. I know I've hardly added anything on. I don't think I can fit the whole thing on the screen there. It's a bit tight, isn't it? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can't quite fit the whole thing on the screen. Let's have a look a minute. What I wrote down here. So yeah, this is kind of like a cropped sweater. I mean, if you want to go longer, you can, but bear in mind, you'll have to keep trying it on because it might get tighter when it gets near your hips. I'm just going to do it cropped. I'm making a small. That says to aim for about 43 centimetres. So all you're going to do is take your tape measure and measure from the back of the neck and just measure down. Like, you can't really see mine very well because I can't squeeze the whole thing in. But I am currently sitting at 43 centimetres. And the measurements that are provided for a small says 43 centimetres. I've got 10 centimetres to add on here. So I'm just going to keep doing rounds of granny stitch, just like the sleeves, but without the decrease round in it, until I reach the length that I'm happy with. And then I'm going to meet you back here, and we're going to add the pretty edging on the bottom. and then you're done. Okay, so I'll meet you back here once you've got the length that you're happy with. See you soon. Right, so I'm now happy with the length of my sweater. So what we're going to do, once you're happy with the length of yours, is we're going to finish off with the bottom edging. Now that's worked over 3 rounds. And we're going to be working with the right side of our sweater facing us. So what we're going to do is get our yarn. If you're using the same colour and you haven't fastened off, then if you're facing wrong side, make sure that you turn your work so that you're facing the right side. Now, I'm changing my colour, so I'm just going to go in the first stitch. Oosh, like that. Sorry about that. I don't know why I just said oosh. Right, I'm going to join my yarn with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1. Right, we're going to place a single crochet in the same stitch. Then you're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in the 3rd stitch along you're going to place 7 double crochets, all in the same stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches and we're going to put a single crochet in the 3rd stitch. And then again, just repeating this whole process. Skip 2 stitches and then put 7 double crochet in the 3rd stitch. 1, 2, oh hang on, I didn't go right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then skip the next 2 stitches and put a single crochet in the next stitch. Skip 2 stitches and put 7 double, sorry I forgot what I was doing there, put 7 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch. So just keep repeating, skip 2 stitches, 7 double crochet in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, single crochet in, oh sorry, skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch. Skip 2 stitches, 7 double crochet in the next stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch. You're going to keep repeating that all the way around. Skip 2, 7 in the next one, and then you skip 2, a single in the next one. How many rows done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So keep repeating that all the way around to give these lovely little shell stitches. And I'll meet you back here when you get near the end of the round. Okay, I'm now at the end of my round. I've done 7 double crochets, and now I'm going to skip my last 2 stitches and I'm going to go into the first single crochet with a slip stitch, and that joins round 1 of the bottom edging. Now I'm going to fasten off because I'm going to change my colour. If you're sticking with the same colour, you're just going to keep working on the right side facing. So let me just fasten off and then I'll come back to you in a second where we do round 2 of the edging. Ooh. Okay, so we're now on round 2 of the edging, the bottom edging. I've fastened off because I'm changing colour. If you're sticking with the same colour, keep your garment so it's right side facing. We're not turning for the bottom edging. So let me just attach my yarn in the previous stitch with a slip stitch. Right, so for this round we're going to chain 1 and put a single crochet back in that same stitch. Then you're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to place 3 double crochets in the next stitch. So 3 in 1 stitch, 3 double crochets. 1, oh gosh, hang on, I can't pull it through. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to put a single crochet in the next 7 stitches, and that should bring us to the center of this shell. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you're in the center of the next shell. So then you're going to place 3 double crochets in that 1 stitch in the center. 1, 2, 3, and as you can see, it kind of gives it like a triangle shape. So it's going to keep repeating that process. Single crochet in the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's brought me to the center of the next shell, where I'm going to place 3 double crochets in that stitch. 1, 2, 3. I'll do it again with you one more time. So that then you're going to put single crochet in the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, you should be in the center of the shell, and you're going to put 3 double crochets in that stitch. 1, 2, oh hang on, my yarn's gone all funky. 3. We're going to keep repeating that all the way around. Okay, so single crochet in the next 7. That should take you to the center shell, and put 3 doubles in that center stitch. Okay, so I'll meet you back here when we get near the end of the round, probably the center of my final shell. Okay, so I'm on my final shell. I've stopped right before the center stitch, and I'm going to put 3 double crochets in that stitch. And then you're going to put a single crochet in the last 3 stitches. And then we're going to join to the top of the first single crochet with a slip stitch. And that is round 2 complete. Now for round 3, which is the final round, so we're almost done. If you are staying with the same colour, what you're going to do is we're going to be doing some front post double crochets on this section, but we're going to be going down to round 1. So you're not going to go around the bottom stitch on round 2. You're going to skip over that one, and you're going to go around your single crochet from round 1. So you're going to chain 1, yarn over, find the single crochet from round 1. The first one's going to be a bit bulky because we chained 1 and then did a single crochet. So just grab all that bulk and put your hook behind that stitch, or the bar, whatever you want to call it. Yarn over and pull a loop through. And then you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2. Yarn over and pull through the final 2. A little bit tricky to see because I've still got the same colour on my hook at the moment. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. But I am changing my colour. So if you are changing colour, let me show you what you're going to be doing. Let me just undo that. Is that all that I need to undo, I think? Yeah. Let me fasten off and change my colour. Okay, so if you're changing colour, it's basically going to be the same as what we've just shown you. We're going to attach our yarn in the first stitch. And we're going to chain 1 and do a front post double crochet down around the first single crochet from round 1. And then what we're going to do now, we're both all at the same point. If you've changed colour or if you haven't, we've got our front post double crochet around the single crochet from round 1. So what you're going to do now is you're going to skip the very next stitch, and we're going to place a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So skip that first one and then place a single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that should take you to the centre stitch of your triangle. So what we're going to do now is put a picot on it. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go in that very first chain with a slip stitch. So what we're going to do now is coming back down the other side, we're going to put a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what we're going to do now is put another front post double crochet around the single crochet from round 1. So that's my green section because I've been changing colour. I've got yellow is round 2, green is round 1. And the single crochet is right there in between your shells that you created on round 1. So we're going to yarn over and put a front post double crochet around the single crochet from round 1. Now coming back to the other round, what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. Now this first one is technically your front post double crochet, but you've not gone into that stitch. You've missed that one out and you've gone round the single crochet bar from round 1. So skip that one because technically we've just used it, and then you're going to skip the next one. So skip 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to put 4 single crochets in the next, or hang on, I didn't quite say that right. You're going to put a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So you skip 2 and then you put a single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's brought you to the centre of your triangle. So you're going to place your picot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Attach it to the first chain with a slip stitch. Again, coming back down this side, we're going to place a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And look at that, it's giving it this really pretty edging, isn't it? Isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? Very nice and pretty, especially if you do it in different colours, because it really shows it off then, I think. So yeah, coming back down here, we're now going to put a front post double crochet around the single crochet from round 1. Looking back onto round 2, skip the next 2 stitches and put a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So remember, skip 2, single crochet in the next 4. Which again takes you to the center of your triangle. So you do a picot, 2, 3, 4, which is chain 4, and then a slip stitch in that very first chain. And then single crochet in the next 4 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, which then brings you back to your front post double crochet around the single crochet from round 1. You're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. So remember, you then have to skip 2 stitches from round 2. Just flip it up, that's what I do. Flip it up and look behind it, and you're going to be skipping the next 2 stitches and then going in the next 4. I'll do it again with you one more time. So yeah, skip 2 stitches and go in the next 4 with a single crochet, which has brought you to the center of your triangle, and you're going to place your picot, which is chain 4 and a single crochet in that very first chain, coming back down, doing 4 single crochets, and then your front post double crochet around the single crochet from round 1. So then you skip 2, 4 single crochet, picot, 4 single crochet, front post double crochet. And there you have it. Look at that. So I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to meet you back here when I get to my final triangle. So close. Right, I'm at my final triangle, and I've just done my picot right in the center. So all you got to do now is single crochet in the last 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to join to the top of your front post double crochet from the beginning of the round with a slip stitch, and that's it. It's done. We fasten off obviously, weaving in the ends. Hopefully you've not got too many. Look at that, so pretty. I'm not going to be able to fit all mine in the screen, I don't think, am I? Have to do like a slow motion. Is that even in focus? Probably not. Is it alright? It looks alright, doesn't it? Yeah? No? Yeah? No? That's mine. Looks like a fruit salad. Woohoo. Woohoo. It's all about the bottom there. Where's the bottom? Let's get this lovely bottom out. Beautiful. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on another crochet tutorial with me. I'm going to be back soon again with a new vest top called the Young Hearts Run Free top, which is a lovely little made to measure top. Works up so quickly. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.